Hi, friends. I was just reading this story about someone really interesting, and I wanted to share it with you. It's the story of Leslie Foster, who is a filmmaker and a poet. And while some poets may write with pencil and paper or on a computer, Leslie creates his poetry through videos and images. Now, these are not films that you would go to a movie theater or see on TV. They are experimental short pieces that are meant to make you think and to look really deep inside yourself. Well, the story of how he created his first film is absolutely fascinating. It happened in sort of an unlikely place. He was called for jury duty, and while he was sitting in the waiting room, he turned his phone off, and he sat in the quiet and watched the clock tick. He said he tried to make eye contact with a few people to see if they wanted to have a conversation, but everyone was looking at their phones. And so he just sat in that quiet and waited. And eventually he started to see some images of candlelight, of hands, of a woman's face. And it started to come to him this poem that he wanted to write or create in a film. This is what he said about it, why he turned off his phone that day. I knew my brain needed space to think and play. And boredom is actually a great way to give my mind the space to surface a new idea that may have been brewing below the surface for a long time. So he went on to write and direct and create this film. It's called Mother God. God is spelled Godde. And the reason why is he wanted to change people's perception of who God is with a masculine word, a word that has been presumed to be masculine, because he said that God is so much more than gender. What was important to him in this film was to use women, people of color, transgender, non-binary people, because so often these people were not represented in film and in other work. He says representation matters a lot. Growing up, I didn't see a lot of bodies that looked like mine in films. I didn't see queer people. I didn't see Black people very much. And it's hard to understand what that's like unless you've experienced the lack of people who look like you and the stories we tell. He has an interesting background. He was born in Indonesia and ended up moving around a lot as a child because his parents were Christian missionaries. And so he said that gave him the ability to learn and experience a lot of different cultures, but none of those cultures belonged to him. He just experienced them as an outsider. And as such, he could observe them and realize that these cultures, the art, the food, the clothing, those things that we have as our culture, that those are things created by people. He says, when you've lived in as many cultures as I have, you realize how much we invent as people, and then we turn it into a culture that no one questions. He goes on to say, but I also know that because people create culture, we can also change culture. I want my films to be a part of changing culture for the good of us all. All because he turned off his phone in an effort to be bored. So what are some ways that maybe boredom could inspire some creativity in your life? What idea, what thing might be right under the surface just waiting for you to be a little bored, to put your phone away, to put the tablet down, to create something, to do something, to be someone that you have been waiting. Might be time to turn that screen off and think about it. And the story that I was reading from is this book, Holy Troublemakers and Unconventional Saints. It's a good one if you're looking for something to read. Have a great day, friends.